noise and free my soul. I wanna get lost in your rock and roll and drift away.
Hello, I'm Nardo D&D, and I do all sorts of homebrew D&D stuff such as feats, subclasses, and other funny things for you to use at your home games. Today I made a list of 9 funny magic weapons that you guys can use in whatever you like. I also put them on little cards using a fun website that I will link in the description that you can use to make such funny cards. The PDF I have in the description has them fit so that they fit nice and snugly in these funny sleeves that you might recognize from other card games that you probably have if you play D&D. It's just, demographically. If you like what you see or you end up using any of these things, I would really appreciate a like on the video. If you want to see more of these things, please subscribe. That would help and mean the world to me. But the thing that I love the most is if you go down there and comment what you think was the funniest magic weapon that you see in this thing. And also for the magic weapons, if I show you a pickaxe, you can switch out the pickaxe part for a longsword or a bow and still just keep all the funny words. These are just like templates you can think of them on that you can slap on any real weapon, but I just chose a few weapons here to use for these examples. So feel free to switch them out for whatever you like. Now, let's go to the first one. The first magic weapon I have for you guys today is the War Pick of Celerity. This one requires attunement, and this war pick is made entirely of a lightweight silver-colored metal. Engraving of big cats of varying species adorn the haft. That's some fun flavor text for you guys. This is a +1 war pick. While attuned, you gain the following funny benefits. Your proficiency number of times per short rest, you may dash as a bonus action. Your proficiency number of times per short rest, you may make an attack with this pick as a bonus action. And lastly, your proficiency number of times per long rest, you may cast the spell Long Strider as a bonus action. This war pick is of celerity. Celerity meaning you're fast. It's quick. You do quick things. It makes you faster. Feel free to use this as you like. I would give it to a slow character to make them a little faster as a fun little treat. Let's go to the next magic weapon. The Javelin of Wing Clipping. This javelin is weighted in such a manner that it always feels as if it's leaning away from you no matter how you hold it. This is a +1 javelin, and while attuned, you gain the following benefits. As a reaction, when something uses a fly speed within 50 feet of you, you may make an attack using this javelin at the triggering thing. You also gain, this javelin gains thrown 60/150 feet instead of the normal less than that a normal javelin has. It just has a further range. It flies gooder. And then you also gain your proficiency number of times per long rest. When you make an attack with this javelin, if it causes damage, the damaged creature plummets 50 feet downward. If it would be on the ground because of it, it is knocked prone. So that's good even if he's not in the air. You could just knock something prone by hitting him with the javelin. So that's pretty neat. The point of the javelin is obviously to fight flying creatures of varying descriptions, such as a dragon or a harpy, and it makes them come down. It makes them more susceptible to being attacked if they use their fly speed. It's the nice AA Javelin, meaning anti-air, not Alcoholics Anonymous. So yeah, I'd give it to any party and see who they decide to give it to for when they have to fight a dragon, for example. Next item. The Short Bow of Chitin. This bow is made of a dark, perpetually cold metal. The string hums with chittering sounds after being plucked. This is a +1 short bow while attuned. When you successfully make an attack that deals damage to a creature as a bonus action, you may cast the Infestation Cantrip with a range of 80 feet. And you know the Infestation Cantrip while you're attuned to this Short Bow of Chitin. In addition, once per long rest, as an action, you may transform the bow into a giant scorpion for 1 hour. The scorpion acts on your initiative count and obeys your commands. So I really like this kind of effect on a weapon where you give up the weapon for some alternative effect. So in this case, you throw the short bow and turn it into a giant scorpion, and then it's just clambering around. I also like how it incorporates the lesser used Infestation Cantrip. It's a very insect-themed bow, and by insect I mean like anthropod? Is that the right word? I know scorpions aren't. I know they're arachnids, but go ahead and correct me anyway. Maybe Infestation makes a bunch of little scorpions when it does this. You can flavor it however you want. It increases the range of the Infestation Cantrip, so it matches the short range of a short bow. So that's neat. So that's good. That's good stuff. So go ahead and use it that way. I would give this to someone who's first playing D&D and made a rogue character, just to make them have to deal with bugs and stuff, because I think that'd be a little funny. That's it for that one. Let's go to the next one. Yeah. Great Club of Many Maws. This one's a bit spookier. This club is covered in chewing mouths, ever mulling over something. Wrinkled flesh covers between the parts where a mouth does not cover. This is a +1 Great Club. While attuned, you may use your charisma to hit and for damage with this Great Club. This Great Club causes an additional 1d4 piercing damage with attacks made using it and with spells cast while wielding it. And your proficiency number of times per long rest, you may raise the club above your head and choose a language. Any creature within 60 feet of you that can understand that language must make a DC 14 charisma saving throw or take 5d6 psychic damage. Now, what I love about this is bards are proficient in all simple weapons, and a Great Club is a simple weapon. So this is great to give to any bard you like. So that funny happy-go-lucky halfling bard that just loves sleeping around with all the dragons and ogres and things that you meet, and the bartender's dog. Give him the Great Club of Many Maws so he has to like lug around this constantly chewing baseball bat of a thing. It's just a fun conversation starter, if anything. Maybe you can have your players figure out a way to transport it without freaking out the locals. Maybe they wrap it in a bunch of like cloth or something. Maybe they have a bag to put it in. But yeah, I think it just raises a bunch of fun problems about carrying something so obviously maybe evil or disturbing into town. And I like it for causing those kinds of issues that the party has to overcome. Not really direct combat issues, but just social issues, you know? Which are the funner ones to deal with sometimes. Let's go to the next one. The Rapier of Reticulation. One of my favorite words. The tip of this otherwise normal-looking rapier often bends and twists, making returning it to a scabbard rather difficult. This is a +1 rapier. While attuned, when making an attack with this rapier, if you beat the target's AC by 5 or more, you deal your proficiency bonus as additional piercing damage. It stabs them real good and extra. Your proficiency number of times per short rest, you may make an attack with this rapier, increasing its reach to a total of 15 feet. And your proficiency number of times per short rest, you may make an attack with this rapier targeting 2 creatures within 5 feet of each other, as the tip of the rapier splits and extends in order to meet and get them. I like the idea of using the second and the third one at the same time, so you can really extendo and stab 2 guys that are kind of far away from you. I think that's pretty neat. This is like the idea of a bending rapier to get around those curves and things in order to increase the range and reach and damaging effectiveness of a rapier. It's just a funny little rapier guy. He just stabs and duels and is a funny little guy. He's a cool guy. I'd give it to anyone who has a dexterity score. That's who I would give this to. All right, next one. The Flail of Heat. The haft of the flail is made of a sturdy, dark wood. Each star of the flail carries a weight to it similar to a cannonball. This is a +1 flail. While attuned, you gain resistance to fire and cold damage. Also, your proficiency number of times per short rest, you may make an attack with this flail, charging it with heat to deal an additional 1d8 fire damage. And your proficiency number of times per short rest, you may make an attack with this flail, draining it of heat to deal an additional 1d8 cold damage. So it is a strictly damage buffing weapon, and also the defense of the fire and cold thing. But when I say flail of heat, it's referring to the manipulation of heat, whether getting rid of it, the absence of, or expanding on it, as in heating it up, like gaining more heat. So it goes both ways is what I'm saying. And like a flail, it goes both ways sometimes when you swing it around. You see how it like flails around? That's very funny. I think it's pretty funny. I'd put it on a pickaxe too, because it has 2 heads, and then like you can have one head be the cold, one head be the fire. That could be funny too if you want to switch it around that way. I'd give this to any character that has hands. Now that's what I would recommend. I'd give it to any character that's thinking about taking the binding style feat from the other feats video. Go check it out in the link in the description. That's pretty neat. It is a fighting style feat that specializes in flails and spears. And oh boy, I might have a spear later in this one. That is pretty funny. So stay tuned for that one. Okay, let's go to the next one. Oh my god, the next one's the Spear of Holding. Who would have guessed it was going to be a spear? The haft of the spear is made of a bright, sturdy wood, while the metal tip is an almost impossibly dark metal. This is a +1 spear. While attuned, your proficiency number of times per long rest, as an action, you may touch a surface of at least 5 by 5 feet, like a wall or a floor, for example, to create an opening into a pocket plane that is a 25 by 25 by 25 foot cube of space. This remains open for 10 minutes. It is always the same pocket plane. So it's like a bag of holding, but it's a spear. But instead of weight, it's just an area. But there are offensive uses for this, surely, because I imagine it would still be affected by gravity once it comes into existence. You're not gonna like walk into it and then like suddenly fix itself. So if you put on the ceiling, things on it or inside there might fall in a fashion, if you get what I'm saying, if the orientation is all messed up. Anyway, it also has another thing. Your proficiency number of times per short rest. As an action, you may shoot out one item weighing no more than 5 pounds that is contained in the pocket plane out the tip of the spear with the speed of an arrow being fired from a longbow. Now, you can interpret that in a few ways. You can interpret that where it deals damage based on the thing you shoot, or it just deals longbow damage with maybe an additional effect depending on what is being shot out. Because if you put a bunch of vials of acid in your space and then shoot those, surely that'll deal acid and some impact damage, I imagine. You'd also be funny and just keep arrows in there and just shoot them. I would just make it deal the damage of a longbow and make them do a ranged attack like they would with a longbow for that, if they just put arrows in the pocket plane. But surely just bricks in there, just for fun, you know? Other spears? A spear doesn't weigh 5 pounds. Like, you could put a spear in there and then you can shoot out a spear with your spear of holding. That's pretty funny. I'd go for something like that. So there's a lot of funny stuff you can do with that one. I really like that one. And also, binding style from that other thing, you know? Maybe it's cool. Who knows? Alright, next one. The Lance of Mass. This ornate and intricately crafted lance weighs as much as a horse until attuned. Then it becomes no heavier than a normal lance. This is a +1 lance, and while attuned, you gain the following benefits. Increase the DC of weapon mastery effects caused by this lance by 2. Now, the normal weapon mastery effect of a lance is topple, and that involves a DC check to see if they get knocked prone, so this will help with that just innately, and maybe you have something that lets you use other weapon mastery feats with different weapons, so maybe you could do something with that, you know, it could be goofy. In addition, you gain advantage on saving throws or checks against any effect that would knock you prone, because, you know, you have mass now. And your proficiency number of times per short rest, you may add your con modifier to the damage roll of an attack made with this lance, because the Lance of Mass, you can put your mass into the swing to deal more damage. That's why it does that. That's what the effect is. I also really like the Lance of Mass as a name, because people at the table might take a second to think, does that rhyme? It doesn't, but like they could think about it for a second and really try to like enunciate the word in a way to make it rhyme. It almost does, like it wants to rhyme, but it doesn't. And I think it's a very funny weapon. I would give this to any man on a horse or anyone who has a mount of some description, or maybe if the party has a druid that can turn into or oft turns into a horse, I would give it just to the party to see what they do with it. That's what I would do with that. Next one, the Quarterstaff of Bounding. This staff looks like a sturdy old graying branch, however, it is as dense as iron. This is a +1 quarterstaff. While attuned, your proficiency number of times per short rest, if you move through the space of a friendly creature and attempt a DC 10 acrobatics check, if successful, you may add the friendly creature's con modifier to the hit and damage of your next attack. So what that means is while you're holding the staff and you're attuned to it, and you run through your friend, meaning like maybe jump off of his shoulders by jumping up from behind him and onto the enemy that's in front of him, and attack him with the staff, or just attack him in general. It doesn't necessarily mean with the staff, as long as you're holding or attuned to the staff and it's on you. You can add that person's constitution modifier, the one you jumped off of, to the hit and the damage of the attack, just using their weight to propel yourself forward. So I think that's pretty funny. It encourages a funny way of like trying to find and create the scenario where this situation will occur, and it'll just have your friends at the table confused for a second, like, why are you jumping off of me? And then they'll know because you all got the item at the same time. But maybe you don't read your items to everyone. Maybe you just give it to like the one person that picked it up. You know, it depends on you. Maybe it will be a surprise. It does other stuff as well because it's of bounding. Surely it means it's like makes you jump and move fast, right? That's what bounding means. And yes, you're right. You additionally gain your proficiency number of times per long rest. You may cast the spell Jump, which works so much differently than it did in original 2020, in the original D&D 5e, now in D&D 2024 or D&D 1 or whatever you like to call it. It's just so much better. It's a bonus action to cast, and you can spend 10 feet of your movement to jump 30 feet. That's what it does. It doesn't triple your jump speed anymore. You just get a 30-foot jump for 10 feet of your movement. So it basically gives you 20 more feet of movement every turn, as long as you have the spell Jump on, which is just incredibly handy. In addition, your speed is increased by 5 feet. Well, you are attuned to the Quarterstaff of Bounding, because bounding means you're fast, you're just going quick, and that's what this does. I would give this to a monk, probably, or maybe a wizard even. That could be kind of funny, to give them some like reasonable melee option, because they're using someone else's con and like physical stats in order to hit and damage with it. So the wizard might be able to actually do something with that. So that's handy. And that's it. That's the last item I got out for you guys. I'd like to thank you all for showing up and watching the video. That means so much to me, and I love that you've done it so many. If you really like the video, why don't you give it a like? If you want to see more of these things, I try to do this every week, and I think I've been on a pretty good schedule for the past few weeks. Please subscribe, and you can stay informed. As always, there's a PDF very early in the description. You can probably just go see it if you just scroll down a little bit. You can click on the PDF, and that PDF just has these 9 magic weapons on it that you can print out. It's like sized for normal A11 paper that you can slide into a funny card sleeve of standard dragon shield make or whatever. You can fit them in that. Other card sleeves are available. Check out the other videos if you like. I really like the feat one that just came out. It's about feats that you can give in relation to combat styles, and some of them fit really well with some of these magic items. For some reason, they were designed that way. Who knows why? Maybe I'm running a campaign with some friends that are using all these things. All those things are pretty goofy. And that's all I have for you guys today. Please tell me which one of these magic items or magic weapons were your favorite one in the comments down below. I would love to hear and have a funny discussion. If you're gonna planning on using them or try to convince your DM about them, why don't you send them this video? Maybe I'll be able to convince them by reading those magic items for you real good, like I just did. What a funny old prank. Well, anyway, that's all I have for you today. Now that it's near Halloween, remember to throw any pumpkin seeds you have just out in random locations in dirt along where you live, because having pumpkins is funny and they're easy to grow. Bye.